All right, so just in preparation for the color and value assignment, you're probably going to do just a few trials of this before you actually go to the finished one. And you're going to start out with a 5 by 5 square. So do a few of those in your sketchbook. Right now you just need to do one. You kind of follow along. I just want to make sure that you understand the gist of it. And myself. Straight edge. Okay. Is that yours or mine?
That's yours.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So I'm going to, for the sake of the camera, I'm going to make this kind of a dark line. But you probably won't, in your final, you probably won't make this such a dark line. Obviously. Okay. So I have a 5 by 5 square in my sketchbook. By the way, easy way to do that if you're going to make multiple ones is I just cut out a piece of Bristol board that's 5 by 5 and then you can just trace each one. Just an easy way to do it. Or you can do this. Okay, so you're going to start out with light pencil. And let's see. Pencil sharpener here. But I'll thank you. Thanks. Okay, so you're going to start out with a 4 or 5 letter word. Just thinking of a 4 or 5 letter word. And then you're going to, in whatever kind of script you want, but a variety of letters, you're going to write out that word. So I'll take C-H-A-O-S, chaos, okay? So I'm going to put my C down. And you really don't need to be, so there's a C, okay? And then in a different style, I'm going to draw an H. And you know, you can really use any kind of style that you want. So there's my H. Okay, and that one I used up from top to bottom. And then I'm going to use an A. And now you also want to overlap these letters, okay? And they don't have to be all caps. And I'm kind of being fairly random about this, but it's hard for me to be random because I'm always thinking in terms of making shapes relate to each other. So there's my A, okay? So it really, you can do any word you want, and I'm just kind of demonstrating how to do this. And then my O, I'm actually going to just kind of make a circle around my A. I would probably get like a protractor to do this, or a compass to do this rather. And then there's my O, and then I'm going to put my S, and I'm just going to do my S like a sort of a line. So that's my S, okay? And actually, I think I'm going to kind of vary my line width here. So there's my word, C-H-A-O-S, okay? So there's my word, C-H-O-A-O-S. Not that many, C-H-A-O-S. So there's chaos. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to think, okay, what kind of shapes do I want to relate to chaos? And it probably wouldn't just be like smooth shapes or just geometric shapes. It would probably be somewhat erratic, sharp shapes, right? So I'm going to lay a shape over that's kind of, I don't want to get too busy with these shapes because it's going to be busy enough. So I added this shape, which is like the face of a shark, and I'm going to add, I don't know, maybe like a spear shape, I guess. And I can make that relate to other shapes that I have already. So I'll show you. Actually, I just made a triangle or an arrow. So I have an arrow there, and it kind of fits in with my A, right? Just thinking of making shapes relate to each other. So there's my arrow. And then one more shape. I'm going to make a triangle, okay? So I'm going to just start at the top of my H and then go to my C and then go to the other side of my H or my A, and then I'm going to put it there. So now I have a triangle there. So there's an A, a triangle, a shark face, and an arrow, okay? Just think about the nature of your word. It doesn't have to be like completely. The idea is that we're trying to create a lot of different overlapping things, right? And then, so the chaos and 3 shapes. And then you're going to put in 2 lines, each of which has to go from one side to another side. It doesn't have to go all the way across, but it has to touch one side and it has to touch another side. It can be a straight line, a curved line. I'm going to make like a jagged line. I'm going to start it at the base of my H and just kind of make a jagged line. And then I'm going to make another jagged line. And the idea, and you're kind of keeping an eye on this. You don't want it to get like too crazy. So think of things like continuation and other things that you know about creating a unified design. So my other design, I'm going to start in the same, my other line, I'm going to start in the same place. I'm going to bring it up here, go parallel with the bottom of my triangle, and then go parallel again with that side of the triangle. So I'm being a little bit organized about this chaotic composition that I'm making. So that's what you end up with, something that looks like that. So your shapes vaguely relate to your word. And then you're going to kind of start filling in those different spaces with values, okay? And the idea, one thing that I'd like you to try is to, there's this idea of transparency where if you can, I'm going to make 2 circles and I'm going to have them overlap like that, okay? One circle is white and I'm going to make the other one black. Okay, so I made one of them black and one of them white. Now where they overlap, if they were transparent, what would that center one look like?
Green, like a mid-tone.
Right, a mid-tone, because it's a combination of the white and the black. And the same would happen with color, and we'll talk about that next time. This illusion of transparency. If this one were red and this one were green, then the middle one would be, well, a muted color, combination of red and green, or chromatic gray, right? Combination of red and green. So that's how you create the illusion of transparency. If one were red and one were blue, the middle one would be violet of some type, right? So that's what you're going to do. Where things cross over, imagine that maybe you're trying to bring some things forward, send some things back, but you're basically going to confuse the eye about what comes forward. But also what you're going to do is you're going to create a bunch of spaces that you're going to do a value study in. Now, I want to talk a little bit about graphite pencils. So I think in your sets you have like a 4H, 2H. What pencils did they give you in your
I just
kits?
have some.
You just
so I
have
don't
some?
know.
Okay.
They gave us 2B, 2H, 4B, and a 8B.
And an 8B.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I have. I have a 4. I think I have another one.
so you have an 8B, a 4B, a 2B, and a 2H?
Yeah. 8B, 4B, 2B, 2H, and a 4H.
And a 4H. Okay. All right. So first of all, I just want to talk about, and you probably already know this, but the H pencils, H stands for hard, and so you can get really light values with those. And the B's stand for stand for black rather. So the higher the number of B, the darker you can get, because the lead is very soft, and the graphite is very soft, and so you'll get really low values. Now there's a couple of ways that you can manipulate values. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my hardest pencil, and I have a whole range of them, and probably most of you do too. So this is a 2H, that's not my hardest one. I'll take that one, 3H, hold on a second, HB, and H. Okay, I'm going to take 4H, which I have on this one. And I'm going to use the side of the pencil, and there's a number of ways that you can control value. So one is that you can control the amount of pressure you get. So you can see that I have, it's called a value continuum. And I can start with a low value and get to a higher value. Now, So that's nice with the 4H pencil because you can get pretty dark and you can get extremely light. But with the B pencils, which are really soft, I'm going to sharpen this. First of all, they get dull really fast because you go through the graphite because it's so soft. And I'm going to do the same thing. Now you'll see that with the softer graphite, the high number Bs, that you can get a lot darker value. I'm picking up some of the texture of this paper. I'm actually going to put a piece of paper under it so that I don't pick up that texture from the mat. And so you can see that it gets a lot softer. I mean, because it's a lot softer, you can get a lot darker. Okay.
You see the texture of the paper more too when you use a softer pencil. I don't know why.
What picks up the texture?
Of the paper, like I feel like you see the texture of the paper more when
Yeah.
you use a softer pencil.
I think you're right. I think you're right. So the idea is that I want you to get in your, on this value study of this design that you made, I want you to get as dark as you possibly can with your black pencils, or soft pencils, your B pencils, and I want you to get as light as you possibly can with your light pencils. Okay? But I also want you to, I don't want to see the pencil lines, okay? Which means that in order to do that, you may need to kind of use the side of your pencil and a consistent stroke, lines that are very close to each other. Okay, so you can see that I have a very low value and a very high value, but they cover the paper completely.